Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu, salamu, rasulullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to We Are All Okay Wednesday. Just a tad late going live today. Had one of those days where things didn't fit in. And today we're talking about the challenges of tackling the challenges of parenting in lockdown. So I've been talking to a lot of sisters over these last weeks, and especially those that are in my mastermind program, my group coaching program, and also those that are in my inner circle. And it's very clear that there's a lot of meltdowns happening, parental meltdowns and children meltdowns. So meltdowns in lockdowns, that's what's happening, alhamdulillah. So I want to tackle some of those challenges. Some of the challenges are that suddenly now parents are responsible for their children's education when education has gone online. That parents who had strategies in place for managing devices are now struggling because devices are needed for that education, and so they're really struggling with the whole managing of devices situation. That there seems to be what everyone's calling a cabin fever going on, where everyone's getting a little bit sick of each other and the inside walls of their home. And so basically tension levels are rising. So here with peaceful parenting, which is what I teach, the key is to actually look at ourselves first. That there's no point in trying to tackle the challenges with our children unless we're in a peaceful place ourselves, unless we've got inner salam, inner calm. Because the way we want to tackle anything to do with managing devices or off-track children or anything that's going on, sibling rivalry, kids killing each other, I don't mean literally, just seeming like it's loud enough that it sounds like they are, right? There's no point tackling any of those things until we are in the right space ourselves, and we can do it with confidence, with compassion, and with calm. So if you can't find that space, then you need to figure out what to do about yourself first. So one of the things I've been sharing with the mums in my groups is to be more aware of the build-up, where they're building up to meltdown themselves, and catch it fairly early on and see if they can figure out a way to just go for a walk, even for 5 minutes. So most people that I've spoken to, it is permissible to go out and walk. And of course, if you don't have anyone to look after the children and they're too young to be left alone, this is a challenge. So I'll talk about that for you guys in a moment. But for anyone who has children who are either old enough to be left alone or have another adult in the house, then just go outside, breathe fresh air, and walk around the block. So just go for a walk. Doesn't have to be for very long, for very far, but just defuse. It's like taking the valve off the pressure cooker before the pressure builds up too much. So if you're actually unable to do that, maybe it's bucketing down with rain, maybe your children are too young and you're the only adult at home, there may be a number of reasons why that's not possible, then at least do something, just to release the tension for yourself. So one of the cool things that I like to do, and I just did it this morning, I felt really slow this morning and it really actually got me moving again, is to really just shake. So you shake your arms, you shake your body, just shake all the way down. So even shake your legs. I can't do that because I'm sitting on them. And that just shakes the physical tension out of the body. And what that tends to do is seems to shift things mentally as well, shifts whatever the thinking is that's going on as well. Another thing that's really good to do is just really deep, slow breathing. We forget when we're stressed to breathe properly. And when we take long, slow breaths, maybe like 5 counts in and 5 counts out, and do that 5 times, it actually kicks off different chemical reactions in our body that helps to bring the tension down. If it's really beyond that, some of the other key things you can do is go to your bedroom without the children and just get the pillow and just smash that pillow into the bed. Get all that frustration and tension out. Or if it really has reached the stage that the kids and you and everybody is all really tense, just grab all the pillows and have just one big massive pillow fight. There's nothing like a good pillow fight to break the tension. So the key thing is we need to break that tension first. You can't bring children back on track. You can't get them focused to study. You won't be able to get devices off them and manage devices while there's all that tension there. So what I'm talking about right now is breaking the tension. Just whatever we can do to break that tension. If you can ring up a friend and just say, can you just listen to me while I just have an emotional regurgitation for 5 minutes? Get them to just listen. They don't need to advise you or anything. Just listen to you go, and get it all off your chest. So the key thing is us first. We need to release that tension first. If we can prevent ourselves getting to that level by doing that, go for a walk, just get ourselves out, that's awesome. If we can't, then we need to find another way, and I've just offered a few suggestions. So that's us first. Now, once we're in that space where we're feeling calm and on top of things again, then we can start looking at the kids. Now, one thing that's really interesting is quite often when our tension is gone, a lot of tension is gone with the kids too. And subhanAllah, you'll find that the kids themselves actually are much more on track and there's a lot less to deal with, which is great. But there's a chance that, especially under these circumstances, that there'll still be some challenges to deal with. Some of the challenges we've had are kids fighting. I've had that. I've had my youngest two at each other, and it's almost like they're a little bit bored, a little bit lost because they haven't had time with their friends at school and that sort of thing. This was towards the end of, before they went back to school, because school's gone back here. And it was like they just really wanted to niggle at each other and create the problems with each other just for something to do. And it wasn't really much fun for the rest of us because it was very noisy, and it usually ended up with one of them getting hurt and then that one getting really angry at the other one, and then it was just a mess. So what do you do when you've got kids that are like this? We need to do something silly and fun. Now, silly and fun is certainly not something we can do while we're still tense, which is another reason why we need to deal with our own tension first. But the more that we can be lighthearted and fun and silly, the more there's going to be that connection, that the kids are going to be on track, and it's going to be easier to manage things, inshallah. So if they're ready to fight each other, so release that tension between the kids in a constructive way that will release the tension, release the frustration, but won't result in anyone getting hurt, inshallah. So I mentioned pillow fights already, and if you're going to use a pillow, make sure when you look at your pillow, because I mean this is not too bad. It's probably a little bit bigger than I would normally use, but it has no zippers. So there's nothing on this pillow that can hurt a person. There's no zippers on it, so it's really important to use a pillow, something like that, and it's a smaller pillow so that you're not going to have things getting broken or people getting hurt. The other thing you can use, and I wish I'd brought it with me to show you, is a pool noodle. So pool noodles are the ones that you use in the pool to float on. They're a long foam noodle, and the best ones are the ones that are hollow down the middle. So they've got they're basically like a tube.
Allahu Akbar.
The Isha Adhan. Hang on a second.
Allahu Akbar.
I don't think it's going to let me mute it.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah.
Okay, I've got it. Alhamdulillah. Just need to go to a different screen first. Sorry about that. Okay, so I was talking about the pool noodles. So when you get a pool noodle, the ideal length is to cut it into thirds. Half is too long, and so again it's too wieldy, and it will actually run the risk of things getting damaged in the house. Whereas a third, it's a good length. It still makes a good noise when you hit each other with it, but it doesn't really hurt. And having that hollowness down the middle, firstly, it's less solid, so it doesn't hurt, but also it adds more wind resistance, so it's very hard to actually hurt someone with it. But you do make rules like there's no hitting around the head, that sort of thing. So you'd be surprised how much that can really release the tension and get the kids back on track. So what about devices? I think one of the key things to understand about technology and devices, not just for our kids but for ourselves as well, is that when we connect to a device, we disconnect from humans. So we become humanly disconnected. And so if you want your children to disconnect from the device, you need to be connecting yourself as an adult and be kind of the reconnecting element for them, bring them back on track, inshallah. So if we expect that children are disconnected because they're on devices, it means that we can expect the off-track behavior, which means that because we're expecting it and we're expecting them not to come off it easily, we're expecting to have some pushback or even tantrums, crying or whatever, then we're less frustrated by it because, our experience of our children's behavior comes from the way we think about it. So when we expect them to just go, oh yes, Mummy, I'm going to get off my device, we're usually very disappointed and become quite frustrated with them, and it becomes like a power struggle. But when we expect that it is going to be a challenge, that it is going to be a struggle, because we understand they're very disconnected and they're connected to the device, then we can actually remain much calmer and therefore be much more successful at managing the devices. So the key thing is with the devices, we are setting limits around devices, or we're setting limits around behavior, that if we want to set a limit, correct our children, that there has to be connection first. Connection before correction. This is the key. You can't have connection with your children if you're off track, if you're tense yourself. You can't have connection with the children when they're tense and off track. So it's all about getting the tension away first so that we can have the connection. Once you have the connection, then you can deal with the correction. Then you can deal with the setting the limits around devices and everything else. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I saw you, Sister Ascarini. Good to see you again, alhamdulillah. So, sisters, or whoever happens to be listening, we're in the group, so it must be the sisters, alhamdulillah. Have you got any questions that you want to ask me about parenting in lockdown? Because now's your chance. I can be here. I have a while before I've got another class very soon, but I can spend a little bit of time with you answering your questions. Please go ahead and ask away. Hey, look, there's a thing where I can invite you all. So there's a link there if you want to receive. I just set it up. I think it says there may be a link there that you can post that says that it will, I don't know what that means, give you permission to engage with me or something. But I can see what you're saying, sis. Anyway, any parenting questions? I can see that there's still people online, so any parenting questions while I'm here. If you're listening to the recording, you're welcome to put your questions in, and I'll see if I can attend to them a bit later on, inshallah. So just because you miss it live doesn't mean you can't ask your questions, inshallah. By the way, as you can see on the screen, it says Ramadan Special, heartsfindrest.com. Absolutely amazing program, life-changing program, and at a ridiculous price. It's a 10-week program that basically takes you through the inside-out paradigm from an Islamic perspective. It's I'm posting some testimonials over the next few days of sisters who have been through the program and they've found themselves able to be more calm with their children. They've found themselves just being more calm in general, more peaceful. That's why it's called Peaceful Hearts, because in the remembrance of Allah, the hearts find rest, and that's what the key to it is all about. So just check it out, heartsfindrest.com. Inshallah, I'll see some of you in there, inshallah. So before I go, I've got a few more minutes. Any parenting questions? I've just been talking about the parenting challenges in lockdown. They seem to have kind of escalated with the whole lockdown situation. So ask away, any parenting questions. Last chance. Feel like an auctioneer. Going once, going twice, and sold. You might want to sell your children, right? Or auction off the children. Is that how we're going to deal with it? I'm joking. Honestly, I'm joking. Alhamdulillah. You've got to have a sense of humor. You lose your sense of humor, I can tell you, parenting becomes very challenging. You have to keep your sense of humor. That's one of the keys. So I haven't seen any questions coming through, so we might end it here. But as I said, if you're listening to the recording and you have a question, please post them and I'll come back and take a look at them, inshallah. By the way, any parents listening to this, well, it's going to be Friday my time at 6 o'clock in the morning, so it's going to be, if it's 6 in the morning, it's going to be 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means it's going to be on Thursday, and Thursday 1:30 p.m. Pacific Time, which means it's going to be 9:30 p.m. UK time, just to give you feedback. I am going to be doing the Parenting for Paradise Masterclass, inshallah. So just perhaps send me a private message or a comment here if you're interested in that, and I will make sure that you get the details of how to join the Parenting for Paradise Masterclass. Thursday, 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 p.m. UK time on Thursday, and 6 a.m. my time Friday, which is 6:30 for the eastern states of Australia in the morning on Friday morning. Parenting for Paradise, inshallah. So Ada, yes, well, we can't give them attention all the time. Yes, we're human. Sometimes we need to sleep. Sometimes we need to go to the bathroom and we need time out. Alhamdulillah. The key thing with kids is to understand that if we can fill up their cup of connection, this is the way I kind of look at it, fill their cup up, then they can spend some time away from us and be okay. So we invest the time in so that we can have the time out. But we have to see it as that way, that we have to put the time in to get the time out. You have to invest in first to have that freedom to be able to walk away and then be okay and not go off track straight away. And yeah, they are all constantly fighting. I hear it across the globe. It seems to be a global issue right now that parents across the globe are going insane and kids are killing each other. This is the news. Sorry, I'm laughing because you have to, as I said, you have to have a sense of humor. You have to keep your humor. Alhamdulillah. All right then, I'm going to leave it at that. It's been awesome to be here, and yes, inshallah, next time I will try and make sure I do my We Are All Okay Wednesday on time. This is like 7 p.m. now. It's only 10 hours late. Better late than never, right? So it seems they want any type of attention. Yes, so we invest good connection with them rather than attention. Good connection with them, and then they can be okay for a bit, inshallah. So, yeah, subhanAllah. Jazakallah khair, Ada, for being here and engaging with me. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for you, and all of the parents listening here who are struggling, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for you. But remember, here's the key. You first. Get yourself on track first. Then you'll see what's left of the kids to get on track. And if there's still issues outstanding with the kids, then you get them on track. But it has to be you first. Then it needs to be connection before correction. Connect with them before you correct them. This is the key, inshallah. All right. Good to see you. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika shalla la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Oh, excuse me, hiccups. I've just had iftar, right? So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.